Greetings and salutations. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for our third and final, at least for the day, coverage of Andor. We have now seen all three of the episodes that were released on Disney Plus today. And oh boy, do we have some things to say about episode three. Um, I would like to start out by saying at least something finally happened.
That's true.
So,
I
hooray! Things finally happened.
the
However, with that said, the things that happened were really fucking stupid. Um, where would you like to start, Wyatt? It kind of starts going almost immediately into the flashback. Should we
yeah.
start
So
there?
so the episode does it immediately picks up where the last one went off from the flashback. Goes goes in the ship and then
So,
going up.
before we even start describing the flashbacks, I want to say that I think out of like the flashbacks in general, decision have been really jarring. I think it is absolutely at its worst in this episode.
The flashbacks are so bad in terms of their placement that I would argue they should have just been their own episode. That should have been episode one.
You could have had a whole episode, the the incident that started all of this, the backstory of him, how he met, all of that. Could have at least been like half an episode or a full episode all to itself. Um these flashbacks sometimes only last for a few seconds, and they're literally interwoven with like the action scenes as things are finally starting to kick in and happen. It's really jarring. It's really hard to tell what the fuck is going on, and I absolutely hated it.
I also
Continue.
I also just realized something from those flashbacks. The flashbacks, because of dialogue that was being said, further ruins that line of "I've been doing this since I was 6 years old," because a certain character mentions a Republic ship is in orbit, which means Cassian was alive pre-Empire, like he was like almost a young man pre-Empire.
Yeah, because I mean, I would say bare minimum in the flashbacks, he's got to be at least 10, if not older.
Right.
Probably closer to 12 or 13, to be honest. Um, so, anywho, um, our private security forces are being deployed to the planet to serve their warrant on Cassia. This is kind of intertwined with these flashbacks, which, like we said, are incredibly jarring. You also have Skellen Skarsgård's character is, which was not alluded to at all in the previous episode. He's the buyer that Bix was communicating with, so he's on his way to meet with Cassian. It would have been nice to know that earlier on, but okay, now that's finally been revealed. He has a brief meeting with Bix when he gets to the planet, and then they kind of go their ways, and he goes to look for Cassian. Uh, Neither here nor there, because honestly, he doesn't give a flying fuck, which is weird, because that's specifically why she contacted him, was to buy this piece of equipment from Cassian. Like that was the whole reason he's here. But now all of a sudden he doesn't give a shit about that, and all he cares about is recruiting Cassian to the rebellion, which
This is
is
correct.
okay, I guess. Like that, it feels like it's kind of coming out of left, and it doesn't really feel like it was properly set up at all. Neither here nor there. We'll get to that. We'll come back to that in a minute. Um, so the cops land on the planet and they start looking for Cassian, and almost immediately, the town has a like massively negative reaction to their presence. Like before anything has happened, they're just already like insanely hostile towards them. Um, and that ramps up relatively quickly. So they go to what I assume. is whatever they have on file for Cassian's, which is Marva's house. Now, a lot of these flashbacks that we've been talking about have specifically been that Cassian, after his friends all back to the village, he went into the ship, which we learn was a Republic ship. Okay, he went into that ship to I don't know. I assumed he was there looking for stuff, but
No,
sees
he
his
turns out
reflection in and rees at it. I don't know.
and then starts to just start breaking things. His whole thing, I get he really did just blame the ship for that person dying. So he was just like, I'm just gonna start breaking things, especially after seeing one's reflection. It was really stupid.
Yeah, he literally just starts like smashing thick blowgun thing, and then Marva and some other guy show up to actually salvage the ship because they know what. Um, and then they just make the really bizarre decision to what is essentially like the equivalent of chloroforming this child and taking him off planet.
Because they say that that they killed his the villagers killed a Republic officer, so they think for some reason the Republic is just gonna murder everyone.
Yeah, which I mean, to be fair, paints the in a pretty bad light. That yeah, one clearly just shot a local tribes person and then got blow darted to death, and now they're gonna do some child murder, I guess. Thanks, General Leia. Um,
No, this isn't the New Republic. This would no, this would be during the
I
Clone
know.
Wars.
I don't even care at this point. They're whatever they're doing, they're fucking it up. They're making the Republic look to be like total asshats.
Which is really
Anywho,
weird because they're the good guys.
yeah, I clearly. Um, so Marva, basically chloroforms Cassian and takes him off planet to save his life. Don't worry, we'll put a pin in that because we're absolutely coming back to. Um, so then we cut back to the action, and basically they go to his house and they start to question Marva. She is incredibly combative and hostile to these police officers. So obviously they're going to be, we're going to search your place. We're going to try to get to the truth of this. The whole town kind of like clusters around her house, and they make a point of being like, hey, we're going to have to leave people to protect it. Like this is getting out of hand. So the guys are already getting agitated. They're feeling outnumbered, overwhelmed. Like this is not good. And you can tell everything's kind of ramping up. Um, Cassian has his bye with the guy, but he could give two shits less about the Imperial part. He just cares about how Cassian managed to acquire it. Which, I mean, fine, I guess. But again, he doesn't even really care about that. He to recruit Cassian to the rebellion. And so there's a shootout where they just start murdering the police blatantly with
Yeah,
like
explosives
explosives.
and then shooting chains and
Yeah, it's really like fucked up and horrible, like, and just they really like and we didn't see any of this get set up or established, but it's basically implied that Rebellion Man booby trapped the whole place because he knew the Popo were coming.
yeah, he's rule 2, no, like have an exit before you walk
Yeah.
in. And
So they just straight up start murdering the cops, which what do you know? The cops aren't happy about that. Um one of the other teams of cops, because there's like three separate teams, one of them is trying to, find information. They're still looking for Cassian. They run into Bix in the streets and they detain her and start asking her questions. And she tries to run away. So they have to detain her a little bit hard. and they like kind of smack her up against the wall because apparently fucking handcuffs aren't a thing.
Well, then five
Anyway,
minutes later, we find out handcuffs are a thing, though.
yeah, then we find out they are, but nevertheless, Tim, the
Two
guy that
M's.
was, yeah, Tim with two M's, shows up and is like, "Oh my God, you're detaining her, and she's bleeding." And the guy's like, "Hey, stay where you are. Don't come any closer."
And
Tim
then
proceeds to come a lot closer. And so the
very
guy shoots
aggressively.
him in the, yeah, very aggressively, mind you. So Tim takes one in the chest plate. Um, I'm not sure which part of this was supposed to be shocking. That's kind of what happens when you approach people that are very clear and agitated and they tell you don't move. That's kind of what's going to happen.
Yeah, if I then just start going blah and then charging forward, I think I'm gonna get shot.
Yeah, he absolutely got shot. Now, the thing that's odd about this, right, is you would think all of the people, or at least the ones in this town who are familiar with Cassian and all of the suspicious, shady shit that he's been up to, would blame him for this, or would like, I don't know, at least have some serious issues with him right now. They don't. They don't seem to care. Like Bix is sad that Tim is dead, but otherwise, she had no issues guilt tripping him at the beginning of the episode when she found out that he was the one who turned him in. And it's like, well, yeah, he turned him in because he did the murders. Like, that checks out. And I don't. Short version, all of this bullshit is Cassian's fucking fault, okay? Like, he's legit in the wrong. And because of his wrongdoing and tense, all of these deaths, all of this bad shit is directly Cassian's
and it's
100%.
and it's only gonna get worse because let's face it, the
It yeah,
Empire,
it's
the Empire will be at that planet now.
oh dude, yeah, this is 100%. The Empire's going to come down on this planet with an iron fist. And I guarantee you the writers are going to be like, "See the Empire's bad news." And it's like, "Motherfucker, y'all did this shit. Cassian started it, and then the whole fucking town made it worse."
Yeah, like hooking up something to the dropship and making the dropship crash.
Yeah. They booby trapped the fucking cop's ship to where when he tried to take off, it got caught and exploded, and they that did nothing wrong. Like, for all we know, that guy was it was his first fucking day. You know what I mean? Like, really? Why? And especially like Rashi or whatever his name was, he's, "I'm not doing you any more favors, Cassian." Does massively illegal favor him in Cassian's bullshit. It's like, dude, what the fuck? So action is finally happening. People are getting shot. Things are happening, but it's like none of it makes any fucking sense. Cassian and guy whose name I don't even fucking remember
Skellen
at this point.
Skarsgård. We'll just
Yeah,
refer to him by
Skellens.
the.
We're just gonna call him Skarsgård. So Cassian and Skarsgård are escaping, and I'm just gonna say it. They're teleporting through town to wherever they need to go because they seem to have no issues getting like behind the
Oh
fucking
yeah.
security guy.
Well, so the only thing that could be implied was when security, like bumbling cop man, enters that building and shoots at the people that were leaving. They left through a side door, and then when we see Cassian and Skarsgård around a corner, those same people run past them. So
Yeah,
it's
it's really weird,
believable, but at the same time, they are moving incredibly fast.
yeah. So they get the drop on our cringy off, and they decide not to kill him because he tells them the truth, I guess. So they basically like tie him up and gag him, which doesn't really seem to affect much because within a matter of minutes,
They find
like
him.
literally, they find him and untie him. So then you have Skellen and Cassian are going to try to on speeders to get to Skellen's ship so that they can leave. and they send out a speeder, and this thing is like a fucking tank.
Yeah, it
It's
just
just
takes
they're just
blaster.
shooting it. Yeah, they're shooting this thing like a dozen with blasters, and nothing seems to happen to it. They finally shoot it enough to where it stops and crashes, and then it's just like the security guys surround, and then it's like, oh, it explodes, and you can see this coming like a mile away. And then Skellen and Cassian go speeding on by on another speeder. But here's the thing that I don't think the writers realize. They actually show the cop guys being, compassionate. Like, I swear to God, I know what they're setting up, that they're part of the Empire. But I shit you not, the way these guys are, these are the fucking good guys. They absolutely stop chasing Cassian to check on their men and see if they're alive after that explosion and call in for help and backup. Like, they actually give a shit. So yeah, there's been some incompetence, there's been some bungling, but very clearly they are concerned for their men well-being more than just catching the bad guy.
And all the quote unquote good guys care about is just trying to get the fuck out, regardless of
I'm not
how.
even convinced that Cassian gives a shit about the people in this town because, like I said, this is all his fucking fault, and he doesn't seem to give a shit. Not even about Bix, Marva, Rashi, or any of the people that are fucking helping him. Not at all. He's
Well,
just gonna deuce out with this guy he just met.
it doesn't help that the only expression Diego Luna has been making this entire show has been a like a like a grimace this whole time. So he's not really emoting that much.
No, not really at all. So basically, we learn. Let's bring it back to Marva for a second, because one of the big reveals of this episode is the whole how him and Marva are connected, and that's supposed to be like emotionally significant, and we're supposed to feel bad. I don't at all, because if anything, the fact that Marva kidnapped him when he was a child, whether she saw it as saving his life or not, is irrelevant. She kidnapped this child against his will and took him away from his family and everyone he knew. So the whole he's trying to find his sister thing is 100% her fault. Why would he give a shit about her? Like, if anything, he should really fucking hate her and blame her for like a lot of stuff. But we
Yeah,
don't really get to see any of that.
yeah, it's really odd because in the final shot it shows Kid Cassian in their little ship that we find out in the present day he sleeps in the wreckage of that. Uh, it's taking off and he's just really calm about this, and it's just like, I'm sorry, wouldn't you're being kidnapped here, kid? Wouldn't you be freaking the
Yeah,
fuck
like we
out?
don't see a scene of him like looking out the window and looking back down at his village or like, saying anything about my sister, nothing. He just looks at her like with a sense of wonder. He's going on adventure. It's like, dude, what the fuck? So, I don't know, but I kind of don't give a shit about Marva. I don't give a shit about any of the people in this town. Like at this point, when the Empire shows up and starts laying down the law, I am 100% on their side. Fuck this town. These people have absolutely brought down the wrath of the Empire, and they deserve every bit of it.
It's,
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, fuck around and find out, whatever you want to call it, they are 100% to blame. Like Cassian was definitely the original, but they made it a fuckload worse.
yeah, and it's so weird that this show By making Cassian just so unlikable, I'm rooting for the Empire.
Yeah, unironically.
I
And it's
I
weird,
think
like it kind of makes sense, right? That the town would want to protect, quote unquote, one of their own. But when you combine that with the fact that this is Cassian's fucking fault, and several of the main townsfolk that have interacted with him for the past 2.5 episodes knew he was doing some shady shit. You know what I mean? So like they would be aware that it's like, yeah, this is his fault. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like they're acting to protect him, even though they should be really mad that he's put them in this position. You know, the fact that they're now having to defend themselves from the Empire. It's like, no, by all means, they fucking started. Um, they should be very upset with Cassian. And then he's just bailing on them anyway. So, like, why are they working so hard to protect someone who has absolutely zero loyalty to them?
I'm hoping that this has consequences. I'm hoping that if he were to come back here, that somebody would be like, "No, you left us. You abandoned us to the Empire."
I sincerely hope. I highly doubt,
Yeah.
based on everything we've seen so far and just the overall the quality of the characters, the quality of the plot, the storytelling, I have my doubts. Um yeah, I mean honestly, woohoo, the episode finally had some action, things finally started, but it made it worse, not better. The action genuinely made it worse. Um this was really fucking terrible. And it just made all of the issues that we already had with the characters, with the plot, with the story, all of those things were just made worse now that the balls are actually moving. It's like, wow, I didn't think you could, but fuck it, you did. Um, so I will say, after finally watching all 3 episodes, um, I 100% do not recommend this show, especially if you are a Star Wars fan or somebody who, gives a shit about these characters or this universe.
God forbid you
I
actually liked Rogue One for Cassian Andor. He is just.
This
This
is
is a
not
different.
Cassian Andor for one,
Yeah,
like
it's
at
not.
all. Like I was expecting a younger that I could at least be like, okay, I could see how within, a few years this person could become that person. No. This is a totally different fucking character entirely, and he is very unlikable. Everyone in this show is very unlikable except for the fucking Empire.
Yeah,
It's weird.
it's achieved what I used to think was the. Like, kid me would probably look at me and just be like, "What are you doing?" Because it's like, yeah, I'm basically siding with the Empire on this one.
Yeah, it's really fucking weird. I've always been more of a fan of the dark side anyway. So for me, like, yeah, I'm cool about seeing the Empire, but it's just interesting how like I can unironically, right? I can unironically tell that the writers are wanting me to hate these characters and they're trying to portray them as being bad and evil, but it's like the horseshoe effect. You know what I mean? Like they're trying so hard to make these guys out to be the bad guys that they have accidentally made them the most likable characters and the most understandable and relatable characters in the entire fucking show.
Yeah, and it's
And I am not being hyperbolic in the slightest.
and I think it's weird how it's like I used to really love what the rebellion stood for in the OT when it was more black and white. Introducing this grayness has made me just go, no, I fucking no, just I'd rather be with the Empire.
Yeah. Um, I mean, even in the moments where you have like the officer guy is like standing there and he's kind of shell shocked, basically. Like that reminded me of like war films and stuff, and like it was actually really well done. And it's like I care more about what's going on with those characters. Like fuck Cassian, fuck Skarsgård, fuck Bix, fuck all of those people that the show wants me to care about. But they're all so grating and unlikable. It's impossible for me to empathize with them. But these cops that are just trying to do their job and they're actually being pretty reasonable and all things considered, yeah, those guys I can relate with. Those guys I understand and sympathize with and I feel bad for. Nobody else. And that's really fucked up. Like, congratulations, writers. You failed so hard that I am unironically rooting for the company underlings of the Empire, basically the bad guys.
Or basically, or in the case of the rest of the show, because let's face it, we'll be dealing with the Empire from here on out. It's making me just side with people who later will just blow up planets and with no problems whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, and like you said earlier, I mean, on top of that, on top of making us unironically root for the Empire, they also fucked up the Republic and made them like really
Mm,
evil as well. And it's
yeah,
just like, oh,
saying the Republic would just fucking kill all these what essentially look like children, and it's like,
yeah, I
I'm
I
sorry,
didn't notice any like adults in that village. I don't know if that was like a intentional thing or if they just weren't part of the
or if they
specific
just weren't there.
story. Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't. But it seemed like the village was mostly like children and teens. I didn't really see any older people.
Because you know
So
what the actual Republic, the Republic we remember from the prequels, you know what they would do? They'd more than likely just land a diplomatic ship, more than likely accompanied by a Jedi, and they'd be like, "Oh, these are kids. They need help. What's going on?"
no, no, they're murderous, evil bastards. I mean, that guy straight out came out shooting. You know what I mean? Like,
Kind of like, so I don't blame that guy because that's an entirely panic worthy situation. And you just see this person just poking around on your, yeah, the blaster in all reality should have been set to stun, but I don't think
no,
I
this is
blame him. I
no,
don't
no.
blame him for
Why?
shooting that
Shh,
person.
shh. This is canon now. This is canon. The Republic is trash, and the Empire is trash. I yeah, I don't know, man. This I'm very much still on the train of I do not recommend this show to anybody. Um, we definitely took one for the team on this one, guys. We watched and suffered through these first three episodes, so you wouldn't have to. But it has absolutely been shit. Um, if you would like us to continue suffering, please like, share, subscribe, comment, let us know because otherwise I'd really rather not continue doing
Yeah,
that. Like this was physically
both
painful.
of us are like, we're both holding onto our towels like a,
Like
like with just like a
I
pinching finger. We're like, we're ready to
I
throw up.
have mostly already given up on Star Wars in general. Like I had no desire to watch this show because to me Star Wars is already dead. He is just parading around the carcass. But, we figured it would be topical. We figured it would, some people might still be holding out hope even after the disaster of Kenobi and just all that shit. I just, you know, but yeah, no, guys, it's bad. Um, I guess the only way you could say something like Kenobi was worse is that it killed characters that you cared about a lot more. Bigger name characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader and shit like that. Whereas this is like someone you barely know from. so it's not as insulting to fans of the OT as Kenobi, but to just Star Wars fans in general, yeah,
I
pretty
still,
pretty low tier.
part of me still thinks it'd be an insult to even if this was good. In all actuality, if you character assassinated Obi-Wan, Luke, Fett, all this stuff only for Cassian Andor, a character I don't give a fuck about, to then be the one leading the franchise. At
Well, but
least,
that's the thing, right? No matter what happens in this show, 5 seasons like they've talked about leading up to Rogue One, we know
yeah, we know what
that he's
happens.
not going to be leading the franchise how his story ends. So, yeah, he could be some hero of the rebellion or whatever, but ultimately we know that he eventually passes that torch off to our OT characters, or I guess, and then even going a step further, we know that all of the accomplishments of the characters have been fucking retconned by Queen Ray Palpatine, you know? So she made all of their accomplishments because they didn't defeat the evil empire and kill Palpatine. Remember? He survived
And then somehow returned.
and then somehow returned because
Uh,
Snoke,
a grown adult was paid to write that.
yeah, in Fortnite. Ugh.
Uh,
If you're
I'm gonna
not
crawl under
convinced
my
Star
desk
Wars
now.
is dead, folks, I'm telling you, it's been absolutely bastardized. Like what they have done is just absolutely shameful. Um, so yeah, let us know if you want us to keep going on this painful trek because otherwise I'm happy to leave this show in the rearview mirror. It's fucking terrible, folks. There's nothing here of substance worth giving a shit about, and that's just the truth of it. Maybe that could change once the actual Empire gets involved, but I'm not holding my fucking breath.
Neither am I.
So,
So
yay, we
yeah, we
did
did.
it.
Bye.
Bye.